What's up, YouTube? Vapor here. Today, I wanted to make a Blitzcrank matchup chart for Season 0 Early Access as it comes to a close. Because I've been seeing a lot of tier lists floating around. It had me thinking about making one, but after making a mental tier list, I realized I didn't have anything interesting to say because the game in Season 0 is mostly developed with only 11 characters, right? There's no room for hot takes. You got Ekko, Yasuo top 2, ahri, warwick, teemo next 3, and then the next 3, and you got the bottom 3, you know. But in a matchup chart, I feel like it's a lot more interesting because there's more room for discussion since Blitzcrank is a pretty popular character, but not really represented at the top level. So for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm a Blitz Yasuo, though my friends are pretty adamant to point out it's Yasuo Blitz instead. Since the launch of Early Access, currently sitting in Challenger around 16 LP at the last day of the season. Hopefully we can keep that. 2,000 games, chilling. 9th at Risk, and one or few locals here and there, so I feel like opinion on Blitz is pretty solid as of now. Also gonna be entering Frosties, but well, it's gonna be a whole new patch with a bunch of Blitz changes. We'll see how those affect them because, well, spoiler alert, it's only uphill from here. With that being said, this matchup chart is going to reflect top level play in high GM, challenger, and tournaments because, to be honest, Blitz is pretty strong and viable at like 90% of levels of play that aren't completely refined, right? He's pretty easy, he's got high damage, and frequent scrambling will get you pretty far because you can rob people a lot more often. And I'll comment on which matchups are a little better at lower levels of play, but in general this chart will be for top level play. So yeah, let's just kick it up with the first hard winning matchup for Blitz, which is no one. Blitz doesn't really hard beat anyone. So, is anyone surprised? But in slight winning, next up we do have Braum. And I'm not here to argue which character is better or worse, right? Because, you know, matchups all about interactions. Some people might think Braum's better than Blitz, but Blitz has a lot of favorable interactions with Braum, actually. First of all, 50% of Blitz character is its assist, right? This thing, right? Blitz hook Braum for the shield, so yeah. Sorry, Braum, that's a thing. But also even on point if you're autopiloting Rocket Fist, which, spoiler alert, Rocket Fist defines a lot of matchups. Most Braums like to autopilot shield into assist, which with most characters can't really convert at max range because Blitz is so far back. And I say most because there's some shenanigans with 2x assist and Darius. We'll get a full wall bounce, but even when Braum gets his win con, you know, Blitz has some options to break armor that other characters don't. Like again, Rocket Grab, which if you didn't know, grabbing Braum makes it lose Unbreakable. Or if you're running Double Down, which I do, Push Block Super Tag, which is multi-hitting, is very useful as well. So Braum will have his moments when he puts you in the corner with Unbreakable, but I mean, I found this team a lot more scary to play when I play Freestyle and I don't have Super Tag. And his 2H hits both sides, which messes up with jump-ins, but in general, I think Blitz has a small advantage. Next up is Vi, who I debated putting in slight win as well, but I think I'm going to settle on even. Because, see, Vi likes going in a lot, right? Which favors Blitzcrank, because Blitz would rather scramble with you, right? Do this. But better players will know how to bait that, you know, frame trap properly. So, against Patient Vice, you can't really autopilot Rocket Fist because of, you know, the way it punishes. Or even this. So most players have to commit to a jump in or parry, but Vi can stay on the ground and play pretty reactive, right? Also in scrambles, Vi's buttons will stuff out anything you press because, you know, 8-frame jab. Thank God they're buffing that, but other than that, you know, any character that's not in the air generally favors Blitz because you have more chances to hook or with assist or check the ground approach with 3L. So I'll settle with even. Again, probably, you know, winning at lower levels, we can scramble more, but at a top level, a little closer to even. next up we have Darius. Which is interesting because, you know, Darius players love to swing. They love to swing. Big, medium button, go burn. And I can't tell you how many games where I've won when my point character dies. Darius just swings his medium, and I YOLO a jump in and just, you know, win the game from there. But, you know, beyond that layer 1, good Darius players know how to play patiently. You know, they react to things, and they only engage with their assists, right? This matchup can really go either way. And I guess the one thing putting him below other characters is that his win con compared to other characters isn't that scary. Like, eventually most Darius will just end a string minus, or like have to use their assist. So you can just eventually throw out a rocket punch, try to take your turn back. Or if they tick throw you, well, that's like a chance to mash command grab and yes, it snowball from there. So yeah, Darius in the even tier. And next up, and I'm just gonna do them together, is probably illaoi and Warwick. Very close. I don't have too strong of an opinion on them because similar to Darius, right? They love to swing. You can gamble in on the jump in, but the difference is their win con is generally a lot scarier, right? illaoi has super 2 obviously, which you can rocket punch, right? After push block, but if illaoi is like leaving that big of a gap there, they deserve to lose, right? Good illaois will know how to play around the push block, and Warwick, I'd say, is a little worse for Bits probably because he struggles to anti-air his demon flip. Yeah, Blitz struggles to anti-air his demon flip, but there are generally ways around it, right? You 4H more when you guys grab. Also, Warwick's own anti-air, the down S1, is a lot better than most anti-airs in the game, which against Blitz, who likes to jump in, is pretty scary as well. Alright, moving on to losing matchups. First, we have Yasuo, which, as a Yasuo player, I have to say that Yasuo's solo offense against Blitz is not that great. You know, 4H anti-airs hop pretty well, even though it can get crossed up sometimes, but, you know, that goes for all characters, right? Both his cross-ups, if he doesn't frame trap properly, can be grabbed. It's one of the real changes that they made in some of the earlier patches, but the real problem in this matchup is the neutral, right? There's nothing really stopping him from just running away, you know, pulling up with assist, which again is a common theme for a lot of the bad matchups here, right? Characters that can run away from Blitz generally do pretty well into him, right? His offense with assist is obviously broken, right? In the post-flash situation, it's good for him too, because, you know, Blitz 8 frame jab, but, you know, hopefully that'll be a little bit better. Now, next up is a matchup that I used to be pretty optimistic about, and that would be Ekko, right? Because before Echoes refined their setup, there were some small minus frame situations that you get RPS out of, like Charge S1 or Point Blank Super. And even Blitz is not too bad against the Burrito because his SPD is throwing for him, but they're going to Burrito next patch, so we'll skip on that. But again, the real problem is in the neutral, and in specific, this goddamn 2H after air dash, bro. This move just works way more often than it should, and basically just crushes all of Blitz's anti-airs because it just hits so early and he's so tall. Not to mention that he gets out of the corner pretty free with it too, and you get a full combo. So, like, normally if you whiff a grab and burst someone into the corner, you know, it can be your advantage, but against Ekko, you're bursting him full screen, so good luck from there. And even though you can punch through his time miner sometimes, you can't hit his air version with your rocket punch until he's, like, all the way down the ground, which he'll recover time. And then combine that with the fact that both versions cover his assist, and it turns out that you can really never touch Ekko if he doesn't want you to. So next up, speaking of never being able to touch a character very closely, is Jinx, which, you know, definitely Jinx used to be up here, but her nerfs definitely probably moved her down here. Close to Ekko, worse or better. I think it was slightly worse than Ekko, right? Uh, Again, we're not debating who the better character is here. Like, Ekko's clearly better. But against Ekko, you know, at least once per game, he's in your face, and you can gamble out with like a match or a repair. Whereas Jinx can beat you without ever getting close to you, which is where you want her to be. Because though Rocket Punch is really good, right? Jinxes who are aware of the option are going to jump a lot more. And since Blitz Air Grab has no projectile inform, right? She's almost uncontestable in the air. Again, her block strings aren't as scary as someone like Ekko's, but even with the Rocket Punch buffs, it doesn't really interact with the minigun well. So you're playing the parry minigame like any other character, right? And there's also a lot of heights where her rockets that most characters can run under, but Blitz can't because he's too tall. So typical, you know, zoner versus grappler experience, but you don't have good enough tools to really force yourself in. Alright, now we're in the Doom tier. And between these two, the matchup that's better for Blitz is probably, surprisingly, Teemo, I think, right? Now Teemo, like Jinx, has suffered a couple of nerfs, but all it really did was change the matchup from 7-3 to 6-4. The biggest change was probably his combo nerfs, which made his 2-touch sequences turn into 3-touch sequences. You know, we get what we can there, but Rocket Punch change does help, but it still doesn't hit mushrooms on the ground, whereas Rocket Grab does, which is obviously a big problem because that means your assist utility is weaker for the point character. Yeah, obviously getting it on the zoner is bad, but the real problems more come up on defense. Did you guys know that if you up back Teemo's jump mid-screen, you can't punish him because he's too short? Oh. You can up neutral, you know. That can punish, but you know, that'll mess with your fuzzy inputs, and if you're fuzzing, like, you're better off just smashing anyway, right? Which comes with its own risk. So yeah, Teemo, bad matchup, but that leaves us with Ahri, who, like Ekko, was another character I used to be pretty optimistic against. But that was mostly because Ahri players used to drop their combos. You can just rob them for it, but since they fix their combos, that doesn't really happen anymore. So what makes this matchup bad? Well, for starters, the neutral is not as bad as Teemo or Jinx, in my opinion, but it's still pretty bad. Rocket Punch can go through Fireball, but good players aren't really throwing the ground Fireball, they're throwing the air one, which is where the problem starts, right? Blitz's air hooks are not good enough at contesting airspace to stop her from just up back Fireball. And the Rocket Punch does have projectile invuln, right? The grabs don't, which means this happens a lot. Like, this is more likely to happen than for you to actually hit her. And this means that hooks aren't really safe unless you have assist, which in that case you might as well just go for another option, right? Speaking of assist, in assist wars, right, Blitz hook usually at worst trades with other assists, which is usually favorable for him if you have good point character, right? I play yasuo. But Ahri's assist is airborne, which in a lot of other matchup hurts her because she can be anti-air, but against Blitz, this happens. And she can tag. This is something they're changing next patch. They're making her grounded instead of airborne, so thank God. But despite all the neutral disadvantages, the real disadvantages come on defense. Where yes, Blitz can parry Fireball and Rocket Punch, but if, you know, this beautiful fox lady, jumps at you, Blitz's anti-airs generally do not work against it, or great, right? And I will refer to Home Depot on Twitter for this one. They're the one that brought this to my attention when I was wondering why my anti-heroes are losing, so yeah. So yeah, this is gonna be the matchup chart for Season 0. And remember, 2SKO is a tag game, so despite Blitz having a lot of bad matchups, this doesn't mean he can't be played in the meta, because you pair him with a good character, you know, you'll be able to make it work and have a lot of fun. And most of this won't be relevant once the patch comes out tomorrow, and I'm excited to try the changes, which in my opinion will probably help his defense more than his neutral. But for now, yeah, it was fun to discuss where he stood in Season 0, where hopefully is the weakest he'll ever be compared to the rest of the cast. With that, you know, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see y'all next time.